She was the keeper of the week in this league on the 5th of September. She's ready to go. She's been exceptional, and she's been consistent in her junior season. ECU in the white, SMU in the red, and we are underway from Dallas. John Little with AAC college soccer expert Steve Lansdale and our entire ESPN crew tonight. An 83-degree evening. The sun setting behind the new stanchion at SMU's Washburn Soccer and Track Complex. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out because SMU has only given up one goal at home this season. That was early to Rice. In every other moment of their 4 games at home, they've held the opponent scoreless. Meanwhile, ECU has not given up a goal in run of play in this 6-game unbeaten string, so something's got to give tonight.
Yeah, goals are the ones that get on the highlights. Every coach will tell you defense is unbelievably important because scoring chances are generally few and far between, and tonight you're pitting 2 teams against each other that have proven very stingy on the defensive end, and therefore the 2 offenses here will have to make the most of the opportunities they get because they may not have many of them.
Mason McDougal on the throw-in. She's from here in the Dallas area, from Prosper. It's just about 30 minutes to the north of Dallas, if you're unfamiliar. And McDougal will try to hold the defensive mid, Sierra Lowry, who's a 4th-year redshirt junior, gives it away. Here comes SMU. A little attack in the middle by Jewel Boland, who leads the team in shots with 30 this season, but just 1 goal, and you get the sense that some of those are going to start finding the frame a little bit more often, and she'll be a little bit more lucky. Maybe it happens now that SMU has turned the chapter to conference play.
And maybe it happens also because of some of the attention that Julissa Cisneros is demanding by finding the back of the net. The more she scores, the more open space Jewel Boland and Sammy Nieves and the rest of the SMU offense will have.
An early foul on SMU going on Sapos here. To give it back to ECU. The Pirates coming in 2-1-1 away from home. Let's get a look at, rather than Sapos, excuse me, it was Peyton Annan right in the back. And Annan picks up the foul for the freshman. And a restart coming for the Pirates. Pirates have not been good over the last few seasons away from home. Back in that 2021 spring season, they only went 1-4-2. Last season, they went 2-6-2 as this one trickles in on Sutherland, and she's able to secure it ahead of the on-rushing Carson Parker. But this year already, they have 2 road victories. They're 2-1-1, Steve, and they've gotten rid of some of those road demons already under Gary Higgins.
Coach Higgins talked this week about instilling the culture and the belief in the system in his team, and it appears the Pirates have bought into that right away. And again, losing the opener, or the first 2 to Duke and South Carolina, were disappointing, but showed that they can play and compete.
Great chance for Parker, but Tatum Sutherland, her athleticism, comes out to challenge the high-scoring Parker and keep it scoreless early.
You see the difference there between Tatum Sutherland and Sam Estrada, the other Mustang goalie. Estrada is bigger, but Tatum Sutherland comes out very quickly off the line and is able to cut off that angle and did a terrific job there. She was a good 15, 16 yards off her line and got out so quickly that she pretty much erased the angle of shooting and got that right foot out, poked it away.
Tatum Sutherland, who started a lot last season for SMU and had a long scoreless string and shut out ECU on the road last season as well, gets the start today in place of Sam Estrada. Just a little different look. Here's the serve to the top of the 6th. The header comes back in. Peterson breaks it back out, and ECU not able to hold for now. Well, it could be trouble, but Parker is offside inside the box.
Yeah, Parker never got back at all and was camped out behind the defense, and that was a pretty easy call for the linesman.
You see Carson Parker, she's going to be in on a lot of the attack for ECU. She's the offensive player of the week in this league. She had both goals in each of the ECU wins last week, including at home against Florida, on the road at George Mason. Late goals in both matches to secure victories.
She's an outstanding scorer, and scoring goals is one thing. Scoring goals in big points in the game, that's even better for the confidence of the player and you start to believe you can create those chances and score, not at will, but the more of those that you have, the more your confidence grows.
Pirates have been outstanding defensively this season, as we mentioned, in their 6-game winning or unbeaten string, I should say. This team's only given up 2 goals. They've outscored opponents 10-2, and both goals have been on penalty kicks. Courtney Sabasco is able to dump it over, and a good chance for Abby Dermott to run it down. Dermott's speed, though, not enough, and a goal kick coming up for the Pirates English.
Nice play by Sabasco, not only to dribble through the midfield, snaking her way through 3 or 4 of the Pirates, but just to settle that pass from Tori Peterson, who fired an absolute fastball at her, and she was able to control it and turn toward the center of the field and found some space. And then, as you said, her serve over to Abby Dermott, just a touch out of reach.
For you, as an American Athletic Conference soccer expert, do you think Courtney Sabasco is the MVP of this SMU team early this season?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I think you have several players for whom you could make an argument at least, but Sabasco does so many different things for this team. We saw, especially early on in the first couple of games, as she picked up a couple of goals, including the game winner against Rice, but she also does what she just did a moment ago, controlling possession through the middle of the field, which is so critical to getting the ball up front to Cisneros and Boland and Sammy Nieves. And again, 5th-year senior, very, very smart player, sees the game at a very high level. I guess if you gave me a vote, I'd say she's the MVP so far, but Nicole Nelson and her staff are lucky to have a few players that could probably scare up some votes in that race.
Sabasco had eyes on Nieves at the top of the 6. Not able to get it to her. Here's a nifty little play by Boland, but Melissa Cisneros not able to catch up with it. Cisneros will come on in and challenge Maeve English. Grew up in the Greenville area. She is, basically a Pirate for life and a 3rd-year starter now. She's been outstanding, especially this season for the Pirates. And what Gary Higgins told us was that she's been exceptional. He knew she was good coming in, but they were looking for consistency from her. She was kind of hunting stats in years past, wanted to make all the saves, that sort of thing, but just hadn't been as steady. She had to understand it's not about stats, it's about communication, about never letting the ball get to that point.
Right, and that's when a goalkeeper turns from a talented goalkeeper into a mature goalkeeper. It's one thing to be tall and athletic and quick and be able to cover the mouth of the goal and reach everything in sight, but you've also got to organize and coordinate the defense in front of you, both as the offense is coming in and then as you're trying to build out of the back. And Maeve English has done that at a much improved level this year, and it's paid off for the Pirates.
Very close to a handball on ECU.
It was a handball. It just wasn't called.
Well, Lindsay Aiken may have gotten away with one. This gets dumped in deep, and you get a chance to see Peyton Dorian, but Carson Parker wins that away. And then it goes off of Tori Peterson and out over the goal line for a corner kick.
And as you said a moment ago, Carson's going to be in the middle of a lot of offensive chances, and she totally forced that corner. She forced the Mustangs to play it over the end line, which you certainly don't want to do as a defender. She wasn't able to get the shot off, but she did get another possession for her team.
Lowry, the defensive mid, serving into the wind here out of the corner. Eyes on the 6, but it gets all the way through. Chased down to the backside by Catherine Holbrook. Goes one-on-one on that end against Rudin. Takes it right through her wickets. But Dorian's over there to chase it down and out for a throw-in.
Nice support by Dorian coming over from her center back spot to clean up the mess. That ball got just a little bit out in front, which gave her room to clear it out. Sets up a throw-in for the Pirates, and from Dorian's standpoint, it gives the Mustangs a chance to regroup and get set defensively.
Dorian, the most senior of the defenders. She's a junior. SMU is able to get it out of their own end after some consistent possession by ECU. Tough to run down Nieves, but that's exactly what ECU is able to do on that play. A very nice defensive play by Macy McDougal, the local and the transfer from Louisiana Tech.
Macy McDougal had a good angle on that, but she also has some wheels. As you said, Sammy Nieves can really cover some ground, and sealing that off. Very nice play by McDougal.
10 minutes into the conference season here in Dallas. SMU coming in at 4-0-3 on the season. So they are unbeaten, number 19 in the country. And ECU unbeaten in their last 6. Cisneros can't be fed by Sapos. And right on back for a goal kick by the Pirates. And how big is this turnaround for ECU? Well, for the first time in their history, the Pirates are receiving votes in the coaches poll. Just huge for this Pirate bunch.
Yeah, I mean, it's early, obviously. Tonight's the first game of the conference season, but Coach Higgins and his staff have done a wonderful job implementing their system, and not just teaching their system, but getting the players to buy in early. You know, sometimes a first-year coach comes in, explains this is what we're going to do over the course of the year, and then it takes half the season before the players buy it. These players bought it day one when they played Duke and went toe-to-toe with Duke and played them even for much of the night.
And Gary Higgins says a big part of that was he didn't have to worry about culture, so he could just come in and teach. He didn't have to reteach how to be a team. They already had that.
Right.
Just needed to teach the structure of what he wanted to do on the field, and the team has bought in, obviously. Been holding down opponents. A 4-game shutout string in there as well by Maeve English in that back line. All in the middle of this 6-game unbeaten string for ECU, their longest since 2008 when they won 13, or they were unbeaten, I should say, for 13 in a row.
You mentioned a moment ago asking about Sabasco and her value to the team, and she just gave an example of what she does so well that will never show up in a box score, which is she settles the ball between 3 defenders and keeps her poise, doesn't panic, is able to dribble out of traffic and maintain possession for the Mustangs. It's something that Nicole Nelson sees clearly, but doesn't appear in any press releases or box scores, and it is critical to what the Mustangs do, and she is terrific at that.
And here comes Courtney Sabasco drawing 3 defenders, but she has it stripped away by the defensive mid, Sierra Lowry. Great play.
See, now that was my fault. As soon as I said that she dribbles through traffic so well, that's when she gets stripped.
Well, she typically does. A heavy touch, and here comes Jewel Boland. You know what Boland's after. Shot number 31 on the season is blocked at the top of the 18.
It's that balance. You want your striker to be greedy, and Jewel Boland is. That's what scorers are. But there were 4 white shirts in front of her, plus Maeve English, and Boland would have been better served pulling the ball back and finding one of the red jerseys coming up in support.
Boland, who missed all of last season with an ACL injury. By the way, just exactly like the ECU striker, Carson Parker, who missed with an ACL injury last year. Boland had a goal back in the spring of 2021 against ECU, one of only 2 matches that SMU got to play back in that spring because of injuries and COVID concerns. SMU with an outstanding season a year ago. Made it deep into the AAC postseason before settling on a runner-up finish and eventually making it on to the NCAA tournament. They won a game against Texas, eventually fell against Florida State.
And they fell against Florida State, and Mustangs were... Florida State won it all, didn't they?
They did.
And SMU was the only team to score a goal on FSU in the entire postseason. So, sure, they'd like to have gone farther, but there's a lot to be proud of in the postseason last year for SMU.
Absolutely, just a tough draw when it came right on down to it. But you got a great home match. You had a memorable win over UT, 2-0, and a memorable season for SMU, and that included a home match in the quarterfinals of the AAC tournament against this same ECU team. A game that SMU won 2-1. Winnie Bellata scored both goals on that day. She's not available as she continues to work through some early season injury status. Sammy Nieves drops it off. Here comes Sabasco trying to sweep through the middle, and it's cleared out. sharply by Abby Soa, the blue-collar, anything for the team defender who has been a two-time Defender of the Week in this league.
All right, if you're Nicole Nelson and you're coaching in a still scoreless game, are you comfortable with your goalie being about 30 yards off her line? I know the ball's on the other end of the field.
Well, here's a blast by Jewel Boland, but on that short hop, it got a little too high, and obviously she skied it.
And the reason I say that, obviously, is Tatum Sutherland being very quick. If the ball changes direction and the Pirates start going the other way, she's certainly quick enough to get back in position. But there are not a lot of goalies that play comfortably that high outside the box, even when the ball is in another zip code.
Tatum Sutherland making her first start this season for SMU, but Nicole Nelson coming into the year thought she had two worthy #1 keepers. Obviously, Sam Estrada has really been hot of late, but, you know, give Tatum Sutherland a look and a different look for ECU that maybe they weren't expecting.
Exactly. Sam Estrada's played in every game and played the majority of the minutes through the first 7 games. And Nicole Nelson said at the beginning of the year, both of these keepers are going to play. Both of these keepers are going to help us win. And they need to be sharp. No matter how good your reserve goalie is, if you even can designate one as a reserve, since they both started so many games in the past, it doesn't do any good to let somebody sit on the bench and, you know, just wait and wait and wait, and then if you have to call them out of the bullpen at the last game of the year or something, that's a very tall ask for a goalkeeper. So I think it's a wise move by Coach Nelson and her staff, giving Tatum Sutherland a start tonight. Just keep her sharp. You can practice 100 times, and there's a different level of sharpness when you have to play in a game. And this is great for Tatum Sutherland, and this is great for the Mustangs to see her in there.
One of the things that she's going to give SMU is the ability to build more aggressively out of the back, is that 11th player, that kind of 5 across the back, and she really can serve it forward for this team.
She can. She's very quick, and she does play it very well with her feet. And, you know, and that's why we see, again, she's drifting 5-10 yards outside the top of the box, and with the ball 70 yards away, that's not a risk. But she sort of feels sometimes like part of the back line of defense and wanting to get into the field play a little bit, and she can do it.
A serve forward is too strong in the direction of Tatum Sutherland, as Lindsay Aiken gave it a look and saw Annabelle Abbott out in front of her, trying to hit the 3-year starter and the teammate. So Tatum Sutherland, great season a year ago, 5-1-0, goals against average of .85. She saved 87% of the shots that were directed her way, and she was simply sensational.
She really was, and it's for Nicole Nelson and for Matt Cosgriff, her assistant coach, who works so much with the goalkeepers. That's a wonderful problem to have. Too many coaches are sitting there looking at multiple goalkeepers trying to find one, and Coach Nelson and Coach Cosgriff have the luxury of trying to decide between 2 qualified, capable keepers.
SMU setting up after a giveaway. Tori Peterson has some space. The freshman toward the area. It's bounced out, but still a chance for SMU. Cisneros is on it, driving it back and on rushing. The drive is stopped. Now Sabasco drives one low. The rebound for SMU again is Jewel Boland. Protects it with her body, falls on top of it with no call against Annabelle Abbott.
Tori Peterson with the nice crossover that sat Schlegel down. Sort of shades of Allen Iverson almost.
Tori Peterson's got some moves. She's fast, she's strong, and then obviously what she's able to do in space there. A lot of fun to watch.
This crossover, she didn't even touch the ball, but she was so convincing in the way she sold the crossover that Schlegel ended up wobbling on her ankles and taking a seat for a second. And to Schlegel's credit, she popped back up and was able to keep defending the play. But nice little move by Tori Peterson.
Good little job by Rudin to get stuck in, win that 50, and then she's fouled to the ground. And again, in on it is Holly Schlegel.
I think both teams wanted a whistle. Obviously, SMU gets it in their favor this time, and referee Estefina Estrada moving the ball back 5 yards when you're 60, 70 yards away from goal.
Cisneros crashing in. She's wanting a call. Nothing comes. Sabasco, the pressure, the giveaway. Rudin takes it away. Dumps it back. Sapos. How aggressive will SMU be in a scoreless match? 20 minutes in. Posting up, Jewel Boland. Boland. And she's tripped up. Right there at the top of the 18. You're not going to get that call. Not normally, at least, as Ferguson took it away.
Through the first 20 minutes, I think the Mustangs have been have had a couple more offensive chances simply because they've been more patient. And they've switched fields back and forth a few times, which has forced the Pirates to spread their defense just a little bit. And when that happens, that gives you some gaps through which you can pass and find Jewel Boland or Sammy Nieves up front.
Abby Dermott, the body up against Sydney Shell to knock down the junior from Kent Island, Maryland.
If you're going to run someone over, you keep your shoulder down. Abby Dermott came through with her elbow up and at an upward trajectory, and it's awfully hard to argue your way out of that one.
Not too much argument.
And to her credit, she didn't argue.
That was a handball that was missed as well. But they'll play on. At least it seemed to be, as Catherine Holbrook knocked it down with the upper body, at least. We can confirm that.
Well, every one of the officials on the SMU bench certainly thought that you made the right call there.
Hey, I'm not one challenging offense. It's
what is it,
call.
20 players all threw their hand up in the air looking for a whistle.
This is their game. As Dermott prepares to trigger in for SMU, the number 19 Mustangs. They've been as high as number 14 in the coaches' rankings this season. They've not yet been beaten this season. They've been tied 3 times. Katina Sapos, the 7th-year senior. Sapos out of the DFW area herself. And now here comes Tori Peterson. Sticks it down to Cisneros. On the pirouette. Transfer from Missouri. Back to Peterson. Overruns Sapos to Sabasco. Sapos. Sabasco looking back for Sapos. Gives it away. Thankfully, SMU is there. SMU winning possession. Sabasco takes it right back. But staying right on it was Catherine Holbrook to win it for the Pirates. Tori Peterson the block as she and Schlegel continue to create a rivalry.
And that's absolutely the way to endear yourself to your coach. If you do get beat, and every player does, Tori Peterson spun quickly and chased back and forced a throw in by pinching Schlegel on the touchline, knocking it out of bounds.
Carson Parker, the striker, gets a rest, as does Holly Schlegel, and Isabella Gutierrez, a freshman from Mexico, who has some international experience, comes on along with Brooke Brzezinski, a junior from Stafford, Virginia. Scoreless so far at SMU, under 22 to play in the first half. SMU 5 shots, only 1 has been on goal. ECU with only 1 shot. It came from Carson Parker. Definitely the best scoring chance of the night, but it was snuffed by an on-rushing Tatum Sutherland.
And that's the kind of save that can really jumpstart a player like Sutherland, who's been waiting her turn this year, to come in and not just get a save. It's one thing if someone lobs one in from 50 yards away and you can catch it on the 3rd bounce, but for her to come out and snuff that chance by Parker out can really jumpstart the confidence of and comfort level for Tatum Sutherland.
Tatum Sutherland will get a chance, getting it back from her freshman defender, Tori Peterson. SMU will try to be patient out of the back and continue to win the possession game here in the first half. Good move down the side by Abby Dermott. And here comes SMU turning toward the goal. Jewel Boland has it dispossessed, but a corner on the way for SMU as Macy McDougall couldn't hold it.
And you see that Jewel Boland is still being treated like Jewel Boland. And by that I mean, yes, Cisneros has more goals, but everywhere Boland goes, she's got a defender in her shadow right on top of her, and she will draw attention everywhere she goes, and that should free up some space for some of her teammates.
Sabasco out of the corner, just lines it right down the goal line and earns a bonus corner as she pounds it off of Macy McDougal.
McDougal would love to have that one back because that ball barely got inbounds at all, and that was certainly curling into the side of the net.
Sabasco drives it a little bit further. This time it gets knocked back out. Sabasco is there near the touch line to hold it for SMU. Sabasco serves it in with the right foot this time, right on goal, and a leaping grab by Maeve English.
English makes that look so easy, but she was drifting backward, and not very quickly, but drifting backward. There's always the risk of a player behind you. She timed it beautifully and made it look effortless.
English responsible for 4 shutouts this season, 10 on her career. She started every game and only given up those 2 goals in the last 6 matches. And again, none within the run of play. And now ECU is over 600 consecutive minutes without giving up a goal in run of play. Sydney Schell comes in and Schnell gets blocked out front. ECU is going to stay on it. Schnell trying to chase it down. Peterson's there too. Schnell, Peterson, it was out. Who's it out off of? It's going to be out off of ECU for a goal kick.
You know, both players were looking at the ball thinking that was still in play. They tried to continue, and from our angle, I thought it was still in play as well.
I kind of did too. Let's see here. When it goes into touch. No, it never did.
That absolutely was still in play.
Yeah, it never went into touch. Of course, we've got the benefit of some of the best camera pros in the state of Texas here on
Without
the ESPN
question.
Plus broadcast. And also our replay op that can slow that down to super slow-mo.
Yeah, that's the benefit that we have that the officials don't.
See every blade of grass. 18.5 left in the first half. John Little here with Steve Lansdale. We are insignificant compared to our crew. Great to have you with us tonight here in Dallas. American Athletic Conference soccer matchup. SMU favored as one of the best teams in this league, one of the favorites to win it. ECU not as well thought of coming into the season, but obviously the way that they have started this year, they are proving to be a big-time challenge for anybody in American play.
Yeah, the Pirates stock is climbing in a hurry. Again, we'll talk all night about the job Coach Higgins and his staff have done. I would say that probably the progress has maybe been a little faster than some expected. I don't know if Coach Higgins would agree with that. But he's done a wonderful job in the early going and has put together a very nice squad here.
Peterson aggressively toward the middle. Steers it back for Sapos. SMU has all 10 across the midline for a moment. As Dermott steers it toward Jewel Boland. It's played into touch. Approaching the 17-minute mark of the first half. SMU 6 shots, 2 of them on goal so far. Each team has a couple corners. Touch for the very strong Jewel Boland in the corner. Here's Sabasco. Sapos the holding mid. Trying to continue the climb toward the goal. Dorian toward the area, just over the outstretched neck and head of Jewel Boland, who was trying to get it done with her head for the first time in this homestand for her.
And Jewel Boland simply mistimes her jump here. You can see her go up, and by the time the ball gets to her, she's already on the way back down. I don't know if she would have reached it if she had perfectly high-pointed that ball, but she jumped just a half a second early, and as a result, we're still scoreless.
SMU has had some chances, though. Starting to come up with some quality looks late in the first half. And as you go through a match, you start to figure out, all right, against this team, this particular defense that's very good, here's maybe what we can do to have some opportunities.
Exactly. And it's every game starts with a little bit of a feeling out process, and certainly that's the case tonight. Again, the Mustangs, I think, have probably had a slight edge in terms of switching fields and trying to spread the Pirates out laterally, and doing so opens up a few more gaps that have allowed them to push forward. And now you see also They're trying to offer a little bit of a different look. Jewel Boland has come back all the way into the midfield. Sammy Nieves is up at the center striker spot. And that simply juggles what ECU is trying to do defensively. If one player is assigned to Mark Boland or Cisneros or whoever.
Here comes Sabasco into the box, leaves it back, and Jewel Boland got underneath it. Well, rather, excuse me, Nieves got underneath it just a bit. Like you said, she was in that striker position.
Exactly. Nieves was in the position where we're used to seeing number 11 running around. And it simply gives the Pirates a different look and gives them something else to worry about. And Nieves got a little bit under that one and pushed it wide. But it does create some different chances, because whereas Boland is very fast and also extremely powerful and can use her body to hold defenders off the ball, Nieves is more of a quickness and accelerator, like a sudden player who can start and stop and get past people. Just changes up what the Pirates have to think about and do on the defensive end.
Because if you come in and you're saying we're stopping number 11, and then all of a sudden 11's in a different spot on the field,
right,
everything changes.
Now you've got to deal with her in the midfield. So, you know, Boland is now pushed back forward, at least for the moment. But for a minute there, you had Boland in the midfield with Zappos, Sabasco, and Rudden. That's an awfully tough group to break up some possession from.
Dermott finds Jewel Boland, a heavy first touch, and loses it. But a nice job by Annan to join and challenge to get it right back for SMU.
Annan is a player that the Mustang coaches have been very excited about, and she's done well in her first few games, but they think she's just scratching the surface of what she can become.
Dermott, nice job to throw on the brakes and find Boland, who could not hold it. And SMU is going to keep the pressure on. Nieves strikes it into the area. Cisneros had it in her feet for a moment, and then it's cleared away by that pesky black line of ECU that has not given up a goal in run of play in more than now 615 minutes.
If Cisneros had been able to settle that, that would have been impressive, because that was an absolute laser coming in from the far side. She did well just to knock it down in play and not bang it into the parking garage.
But ECU holding tough. Some steady play on that back line. They love Abby Soa. She's been a two-time Defender of the Week in this league in back-to-back weeks. Not last week, but the previous two. As Courtney Sabasco dances. Jasmine Ferguson, a freshman, has started all 7 of the matches that she's played this year. Sabasco accelerates. Saw Boland, has it driven away.
Yeah, you're right. There was a gap there. She was trying to push it through and just needed a few more miles per hour on that pass to split those two ECU defenders.
Sabasco finds Rudin this time. Rudin drives it. Great save. Cisneros follows for the goal, and SMU is on the board.
Cisneros is absolutely on a roll as far as being in the right place at the right time. But that, a lot of credit there to Rudin. Rudin cranked that shot. And by the way, Maeve English made a terrific save laying out to her right. You see Rudin teeing it up. English stretches out, and Cisneros didn't have to get much on it. She just had to find the right spot, and she did. Right place, right time. Mustangs go up a goal.
Good things happen when you drive the ball on frame. Shades of what Rudin did in the last home match against North Texas, cranking one off the crossbar that came right down into the area to Cisneros. And Julissa Cisneros, the transfer from Missouri, a goal in the 32nd minute, her 6th of the season. She leads the American, and she leads the team as well.
You know, soccer coaches start teaching kids at a very young age to follow it up. When one of your teammates shoots, scoring offensive players would love to have every goal scored when you tee it up and get a perfect shot and fire a laser into the upper right corner and it just doesn't work out that way most of the time. A lot of goals are scored on rebounds and deflections when you're in the right place at the right time, and Julissa Cisneros is evidence of that theory.
So again, ECU goes almost 615 minutes without giving up a goal in run of play. It had been since August 21st against number 12 South Carolina. That is the last time, or excuse me, let me make sure. Yeah, number 12 South Carolina, that this team had given up a goal in run of play.
Yeah, the defense this year by East Carolina has been fantastic. And as you're building a program and implementing a system and teaching players the way you like to coach, getting a solid defense accelerates the results. You can win a lot of games 1-0. And East Carolina will win some games by that margin because that defense is really, really good.
And an offside coming against the Pirates as the feed to Sydney Schnell while she was out in front of the play. Pirates would love to strike back quickly, find a way to make this thing level going into the half. But SMU, after, I don't want to say a frustrating start to this match, but a little bit of a slow start to the match. They are finally on the board as Jewel Boland brings it up the side. Boland is able to drive it out in front of her, and here she goes. Boland chasing it down with her speed, shoving her way back to the ball and called for the foul as she drives through Lindsay Aiken.
Jewel Boland's argument here is that she led with her shoulder and kept her arm down, and therefore she should be able to run through a player, which in many circumstances is true. Now, whether she actually kept her arm down or not, I think is the subject of some debate as we watch the replay here. Looked like she got that right arm up and extended an elbow into the defender. But offensive players have every bit as much right to the ball as defensive players. And once in a while, you'll find an offensive player who masters the art of keeping an arm down and just plowing through somebody with a shoulder. And the other team goes crazy when your defender lands on their backs. But Boland thought she'd gotten away with one there. And Estefina Estrada, the referee, disagreed.
Shows you how aggressive Jewel Boland is. 9 minutes left in the half. The all-time record between these two teams, SMU leads the all-time series, 10-6-3. And won both games last year. There's the talented Salama, the freshman, coming down the goal line and nearly was able to hold it. But it is going to be a goal kick, and that's why Aliana Salama is just so fun to watch, just how creative she is.
Yeah, she's going to give her coaches some headaches because the Mustangs have some proven commodities up front and senior and junior players. And Salama's going to force her way into this lineup somehow, whether it's a starting lineup or whether it's just simply earning more minutes off the bench. She really brings a nice spark when she gets her chances.
Yeah, she'll cross 200 minutes played this season as this half rolls on. Kaya Lee and Alina Khan also come in at forward spots for SMU, so get a little bit of rest for the top line forwards. Sabasco not able to hold it in the middle of the field. 8 minutes left in the half. SMU on the board thanks to a 32nd minute goal by Julissa Cisneros, who came in 36th in the nation in goals per match this season and led the AAC as well. She's going to extend that with her goal in tonight's match, and she has 4 goals in the last 3 matches.
And you were right when you said that the Pirates would love to rebound, and again, that's part of the teaching process for Coach Higgins and his staff. Dealing with adversity, how you respond to things. And absolutely the best response the Pirates could have would be to get a quick goal in return. The Mustangs, of course, want nothing more than to protect that goal, that 1-goal lead for the last 7 minutes of the half.
Tori Peterson has her eyes on Rudin, who's able to shift it toward Kahn. Rudin, a touch on it. Rudin able to drive it out, but a successful clearance in the end by Lindsay Aiken.
Rudin deflecting that ball out of bounds and limped for just a second there. Maybe the ball turned her ankle just a tiny bit, but she's able to run through it and keep going.
Gary Higgins' team, 6-game, 6-match unbeaten streak. They have trailed along the way, but have been able to recover in past matchups to pick up a win, like the one they got on the road against George Mason. And here comes Schnell. Good defensive play to force the throw in.
Peyton Dorian has come out wide a little bit more than usual tonight, just in support of Tori Peterson out on the side, because the Pirates have several options coming up the flank. And Dorian, as the grizzled veteran of this defense, is quick to get out into the perimeter and support her teammate.
Good aggressive play by Kyle Lee to get it back for SMU. Another substitution for the Nicole Nelson-led SMU Mustangs as they bring in Leah Chansey in the midfield for the first time tonight. Chansey going all the way across the field with an aggressive drive, but it is taken away. Brooke Brzezinski. Brzezinski dancing in, playing it to her left foot. The cross blocked away by Sutherland, and a good clearance by SMU.
Katina Sapo is able to jump on that rebound off of Sutherland and simply drive it out of bounds. When your goalkeeper's lying on the ground and there's a hot potato bouncing in the box, just get rid of it.
Drive toward the goal, and Sutherland is equal to the task. Sutherland makes her second save tonight. Tatum Sutherland coming in with experience in 3 matches this season. She was able to earn the save at USF, coming on in relief of Samantha Estrada. Other than that, she's played the second half in a couple matches this season. Matches she did not factor into the decision. She's given up 1 goal and now has 8 saves on the year.
Again, it's a wonderful problem to have for Nicole Nelson and Matt Cosgriff, her assistant coach, who works with the keepers.
Great opportunity. Here comes ECU. Gutierrez stepping in, drives it right past Sutherland for the goal. Isabella Gutierrez. Her second goal this season, and the Pirates are level.
Terrific run by Gutierrez, coming through on a diagonal run. Got behind the Mustangs defense, and on a situation like that, if you're Tatum Sutherland, you come out and your job is simply get as big as you can and try to cut off as many angles. You can't cover it all. And she guessed right. She got her leg out, but she got it a little too far out. That shot slipped under Sutherland, and we are all even with 4:15 left in the first half.
Gutierrez, who joined the team late after her duties with Mexico in the FIFA Under-20 World Cup, had a goal and an assist in her first match against Old Dominion, and now in her first conference match. One of the biggest goal of her young career for sure, and certainly a settling goal as Gutierrez takes it away, and she feeds Schnell. Schnell has it taken back out though by Dorian.
As a coach, you obviously want everyone in camp, but I think if you're Gary Higgins, you're okay with a player arriving late if she's been training with a national team.
Sampo's trying to drive it deep in the area of Kyle Lee. It is cleared. Under 4 to play in the first half. And so the Pirates become the first team to score against the Mustangs at home since Rice scored early in the first half, and then were summarily defeated 2-1. Long throw in the area of Sabasco, but it is knocked out for a corner kick. Just a misplay there by ECU, and Sabasco will have an opportunity on a set piece to try to gain the advantage back. You see that the wind driving slightly into her face from this near corner.
It is, but it's only slight, and I don't think it'll play too much havoc with her serve into the middle. Mustangs with 4 players crouched out near the top of the box, and there will be a jailbreak here as Sabasco plays a short ball.
Down to Kyle Lee. Sabasco looking to tee it back up as she steps in. Sabasco on her left foot now, crosses it, and it's headed away. Header to keep. Still loose, top of the box. Nothing but white jerseys.
A nice job by the Pirates, really crowding together in a tight congestion of defenders. And as you said, nothing but white jerseys there. Not a lot of room to snake a shot through there.
32nd minute goal by Julissa Cisneros, followed up by a 41st minute goal by ECU's Isabella Gutierrez, and that's how we're level. Sabasco forces another corner, and SMU in a hurry with under 2 to play in the first half to eke off some more chances.
Interesting to see if they take a slightly different approach. It looks like a very similar formation. 4 players right near the top of the box, outside the far post, and now they'll come crashing in because they didn't really take advantage of it last time.
Sabasco to the back post. It's loose inside the area, but a foul on SMU. There was contact between the keeper and SMU. It looked like Kaya Lee, or rather Alina Khan, may have made that contact.
Yeah, I think you're right. And anytime there's contact with a ball coming into the net like that, the goalie's going to get the benefit of the doubt 99% of the time. And you see Maeve English and Alina Khan hit the deck, and that's going to go the goalie's way every time.
Final minute of the first half. SMU, another chance. This time, it is Salama stepping onto it, looking for a cross, staying on it, so creative. A left-footed drive, good stop by Jasmine Ferguson.
It's easy to get sort of dazzled by a player like Salama, who's crossing her feet over, trying to find some space, but Ferguson did a really nice job just holding her ground and forcing the ball back out.
Brzezinski takes it away. 20 seconds to play in the first half. Ferguson in English playing a little pitch and catch, trying to drain off the remaining few seconds in this first half. That'll do it for the first stanza. SMU had an early goal, 32nd minute goal, but ECU comes right back with the freshman Gutierrez to tie it up at 1, and we are level at the end of the first half here in Dallas as the ECU Pirates unbeaten in
freshman, communication in the back end is absolutely critical. And so you saw Coach Cosgriff going over some of that with the defenders.
Tatum Sutherland made a sparkling save on Carson Parker to keep the match scoreless early. This might be the two stars of the match right there, Cisneros and Tatum Sutherland. Walking in lockstep. Maeve English has been good for the Pirates.
I was going to say, I think you can make an argument for the goalkeeper on each end. They both played well.
ECU Pirates trying to do something they haven't done a lot of in American Conference play over the years, and that's pick up a road victory in conference action. It's obviously tough to do, and it's tough to do against the SMU Mustangs at home over the last 3 seasons. And remember, there was a shortened spring season in 2021. SMU is 13-1-1 in their last 15 matches at home, so it's tough to beat them here. But Gary Higgins has his Pirates in position.
He does. They're not going to be intimidated by anybody they see or any situation they see this year. After opening with a couple of national heavyweights like Duke and South Carolina, the Pirates really got kicked in the deep end at the beginning of the year, and it looks like they've been learning to swim.
SMU head coach Nicole Nelson has not lost as the head coach of the Mustangs, taking over for Chris Petroselli in the offseason. We're underway the second half here in Dallas at Washburn Soccer and Track Stadium, seating 2,500 after construction was completed in the offseason. A wide attack for SMU as Semi Nieves pumps it toward the goal and smartly shunted away. However, Abby Dermott's right back on it. She finds Jewel Boland. Boland ripping one from the top of the 18. It's blocked. The third shot tonight. The leading shooter for the SMU Mustangs, Boland.
Jewel Boland, if she's on the field, if she's across midfield, she is in range and she will look for the goal.
And a touch off of SMU. For the ECU Pirates, their player to watch, their player to make sure she doesn't get in the area with the ball at her feet. It's Carson Parker. And that's Jewel Boland for SMU, who's very similar. But Parker, number 18 there, on rushing, trying to put some pressure on and force SMU into a mistake here early in the second half. Pirates want to pick up a goal. Courtney Sabasco giving some pressure to the freshman Jasmine Ferguson. 32nd minute goal by Julissa Cisneros, her team leading 6th of the season for SMU, to take the advantage. And then it was ECU firing back with the second goal of the year by Isabella Gutierrez in the 41st minute. Jewel Boland for SMU, sharply into the corner and trying to chase it down as Nieves, and she said nope.
Sammy Nieves is fast, but there was a lot of ground to cover to catch that one before it reached the end line.
Maeve English, 4 shutouts this season. She won't get one tonight, but her record of 5-2-1, certainly the best start to her career. She's just about back to 500 for her career coming into this match. 16, 17, and 5 over 3 seasons as the starter. Jewel Boland attacks again. Tries to guide one for Nieves. That's a little short, but right into the wickets of Sabasco. Looking for Boland. Another giveaway by SMU. Oh, but look at Sabasco. So good at picking the pocket. What do you take of SMU's aggression, especially trying to, just fire the ball forward and then go after it aggressively?
Sometimes, like we were talking about in the first half, sometimes the goals are not always going to be shot, things of beauty where you pick your corner and bury one in the upper 90 of the net. Sometimes you need to get what some coaches refer to as sort of a dirty goal or a greasy goal and throw some bodies in front of the net, knock the ball in front and take your chances. See if you get a lucky bounce, see if you get a ricochet of some kind. And I don't know that the Mustangs are really trying it to that extent yet, but they certainly are going to press forward and try to force the issue and reclaim the lead if they can.
Wide ball for Peterson. Peterson joining the attack. Nice dribble in, the cross, and it was just wide and no touch off of Holly Schlegel, number 29 there, who has drawn the defense on Peterson all night.
Yeah, that'll be something where if Peterson can get more consistent, she got a step on her defender and was able to get around her. If she was able to pull that ball back into the middle of the field, that can be an extra element added to this Mustang offense if she can make it do it a little more consistently.
SMU has had some good outside backs that have doubled as wingers over the years, and Peterson seems to be developing in that way. Another freshman, Sophie King, started the season at that left outside position, but as the season's gone on, Peterson has overtaken that spot, at least for now.
I was going to say, Sophie King showed a lot of the same skills. She's got real speed up the left side, and just like the Mustangs have a luxury with two keepers, they have a nice choice to make between two capable, both freshmen outside left backs.
Here's Nieves. Boland holding up and was able to play it off of a defender, Abby Soa, but English comes in to gobble it up. And the junior, the keeper of the week, back the week of the 5th of September, continues her hot start to the season. Jewel Boland, meanwhile, just attracts attention every time it's on her foot and she's anywhere close to the goal.
Yeah, and that play by English was probably a little harder than it looked, simply because Boland tried to punch the ball forward and knocked it off the shin of Soa. So when it bounced across the mouth of the goal 10 or 12 yards out, it had sort of a corkscrew spin on it, and it took a couple of funny bounces. And fortunately for the Pirates, there wasn't another red jersey around, but it did take some strange bounces, and English was very calm, just snatching it out of the air and ending the threat by SMU.
Peterson trying to stay on the ball, not able to do it, but now the on-rushing Dermott looking for Boland, poked away.
Pirates trying to get a counterattack, but they only had 2 players going forward with 4 defenders, and thought better of it, pulled it back, and allowed their teammates to regroup and join the play.
If you joined us late, remember ECU started out with a really tough schedule, going on the road to number 2 Duke, losing 1-0, but really putting up a fight, losing 2-0 on the road at South Carolina, and then they just start the shutout string, especially in run of play, as they ended up with a 2-0 win over High Point, 3-0 over Old Dominion, at UNC Wilmington a 1-0 win, a scoreless draw at VCU, and then went to George Mason, a 2-1 come from behind win, followed that up with a win over a Power 5 program in Florida, 2-1, and that 6-match scoreless string, or a 6-match unbeaten string, I should say, for ECU has given this team a lot of confidence.
It has. You know, the high-scoring offenses are the ones that get on highlights and get headlines. But if you throw a shutout every time out, you cannot lose. And especially now with the new rule, the no overtime rule in college this year, Gary Higgins building out that defense first that's a very effective way to fast track the acceleration and the maturation of this program. And as you said, it's pushed them up to newfound heights, getting some votes for the first time in program history.
8 minutes into the second half, level at 1. Sampo swings it out wide to Peterson. SMU certainly has won the possession game, and they're up in shots 10-3. A couple really quality chances tonight for the Pirates, and late in the first half, Isabella Gutierrez made one of them go. We're level at 1 as Sabasco looks to distribute.
Every coach will tell you it's not the number of shots you get, it's the quality of shots you get. And everybody who has coached has been on the short end of of a final score when their team outshot the other by a wide margin, but the other team had one more that went in.
You know, that happened a lot to SMU last year. They got outshot a ton, but still won games.
They did. They took good shots. They were able to convert the chances they had. They didn't have a bunch of track stars running up and down the field creating shots on raw athleticism. But when they had their chances, they had people who could finish them.
Aggressive move by Dermott. This one is driven away by Ferguson. Stolen right back by SMU, though. The Pirates seem, though, like a fairly fit team and a team that's not tired, even though they've been chasing SMU for most of the night.
They have, but again, the majority of the game has been played in the Pirates' end of the field, which is certainly indicated by the shot count so far. And it's an approach that has worked so far. I don't know that you want to live and die by it permanently.
Here's Cisneros from Sapos, right back to Sapos. A rare drive where the left foot is blocked out front and may have been off the head or the midsection of a player. Now Jewel Boland angling for the upper 90, comes up just a little bit wide.
And Jewel Boland absorbed a bit of a body check while she was up in the air trying to get her head on that ball. Hit the deck pretty hard, but you see the contact right there, and it was just enough to make sure that Boland couldn't redirect that ball on frame.
You can see what a special player Boland is, the special athlete.
She is.
Just jumping out of the stadium nearly to go get that one with her head.
She seems like a player who sees everything as a scoring option. Run down the sideline, take a shot. Crash through the middle of a crowded box, take a shot. Go up in the air, get your head on it, take a shot. And, you know, that's how you get goals. And she's better at it than her stats this year would indicate, because she's a pretty dangerous scorer.
It was onside for ECU, but not able to do anything with it. Now Jewel Boland, a rush 1-on-2. Boland, you see her aggression coming right after it, but English punts it into no person's land.
And Boland read that right. She saw that the defender was going to play it back. Abby Soa played it back to English, and Boland cut inside trying to intercept that pass and was about a half a step from doing so. And if she had, she would have been walking in on English one-on-one, which would have been a nice matchup to see between a good, excellent scorer and an excellent goalkeeper.
ECU was offside, basically at midfield.
It's always maddening if you're an offensive player and you get called offside when you're still 45 yards away from the goal. But of course, that's exactly why teams play that offside trap and pinch forward like that, and it worked effectively.
Carson Parker trying to creep in, but a good header by Dorian into Tatum Sutherland, who has been all but perfect for her account tonight. She certainly made one save that would have made it 1-0. Did give up the goal on a similar ball by Isabella Gutierrez, but just kind of hung out to dry on that play. Not an easy one to make.
Yeah, it was awfully difficult. Gutierrez got behind the defense and was closing in quickly on Sutherland, and Sutherland's only hope there was to come crashing out and try to get as big as possible, and almost hope that Gutierrez hit her with the ball, because if the ball was well struck, she really wouldn't have had time to react and adjust to it.
Annabelle Abbott is out, and on for the first time in the game is Grace Doran. It's her 5th year at ECU. She's out of Dearborn, Michigan. Long ball toward the top of the box. Lots of contact. SMU screaming for a call, and no call as Sabasco goes down. And the 5th-year senior is indignant.
And the first-year head coach is also indignant, and in the games that we've seen so far, Nicole Nelson has not been very animated in her conversations with officials, but she was pretty hot under the collar for that one. She's still going, she's still expressing her opinions to Estefina Estrada, the referee.
Wanted the call on the freshman Jasmine Ferguson. Pirates goal kick Under 32 to play. And guess we weren't ready for play as of yet. And Estefina Estrada regulating from the back. Estrada helping, English helping to lead this ECU Pirate defense. Team receiving votes for the first time in team history in the coaches poll. And certainly with a shot, you're on the road at SMU to pick up, could be a season defining type victory if they're able to get one past Tatum Sutherland tonight in the second half.
It's certainly the best I've ever seen ECU, the best ECU team I've ever seen. And, you know, we don't see them all that often, but have watched them for several years now. And you can see Coach Higgins' imprint on this program already. And again, as he said, he also had the benefit of inheriting some quality players to work with. It's not like he was starting from scratch with a roster full of freshmen.
They've only been together for 5 months. He says he's a little bit surprised at how quickly it's come together. As Peterson comes into the corner of the box, stepping over. Peterson running out of real estate, trying to force the corner. It is held underneath, and Cisneros just missed that one from Rudin.
Peterson was going over the end line for sure.
Oh, me too. And that one is going over the end line. Peterson forces the issue, and it couldn't be held by the Pirates.
And that one, Abby Soa wants back. She was trying to knock that down and head out toward the perimeter and turn upfield. And instead of turning her right shoulder into the ball, she turned her left shoulder into the ball, and the end line was only a couple of yards away, and there was no way to pull it back.
SMU leads in corner kicks 4-2. Courtney Sabasco takes them all for SMU. Sharp header by Ferguson, but it's knocked down. A race for the ball. Sabasco in toward Boland. Another corner for SMU.
Sabasco, or Katina Sapos, limping slightly.
I did say Sabasco, but it was Sapos, of course.
But she's not looking for help from a trainer and doesn't seem inclined to come out. ECU also defended that corner differently. In the first half, we saw Sabasco play a short corner into Sammy Nieves. This time, Nieves broke toward her, and 2 defenders went with her. She took the short route again, and both times now, Sabasco's played it over the top into the middle of the field because the option to Sammy Nieves was covered up nicely by the Pirates.
Third straight corner for SMU.
Sabasco's getting some mileage in here, just running from one flag to the other.
Absolutely she is.
Not to mention all the mileage you get from the regular run of play.
Be smart to find that player who listens to Cisneros. 6 goals this season, 4 in the last 3 matches. And here comes Sabasco's serve. Another header out. Sampos is able to hold it, but into less uncertain territory for ECU, and see Peterson with another deke that will leave her counterpart, number 29, Holly Schlegel, just left with a fistful of air.
That's twice Schlegel has been victimized by the Mustangs' freshman defender there. She certainly is poised with an opponent rushing in on her. Doesn't seem to bother Peterson much.
Peterson, a special set of skills. The 5'7" freshman from Las Vegas won a 4A state championship while she was there. Here's an opportunity for Sabasco, serving it toward the net, trying to go upper 90, skying it away.
It's so hard when you see what looks like open space in the upper corner, and you know you have to bend it over the goalkeeper, but the excitement rushes in as well, and it's very easy. If you lean back just an inch, it's very easy to airmail one over the bar, as she did there.
Brooke Brzezinski, who was pretty good in the first half, the junior, making her 33rd appearance in a Pirate uniform, is on for the first time in the second half. Number 27 to play. ECU and SMU scoreless in the second half after each team scored 1 in the first half. Good challenge by Schlegel. to knock it toward Sutherland, who has not been as busy as her counterpart, facing only 3 shots to the 12 that SMU has geared toward Maeve English. I'm John Little with AAC soccer expert Steve Lansdale in Dallas. Long run for Jewel Boland.
You know, Coach Higgins said when we chatted with him a couple days ago that there will be times when he asks his forwards to press higher and try to force the issue and induce an error from the opposing defense. At the moment, the Pirates seem pretty content to defend, and play for a counterattack. But there have been a couple of flashes where, as we saw a moment ago, you had 2 or 3 Pirates pressing really high and really just testing the composure of the young SMU defense. And we'll see how much more they do of that going forward.
SMU coming in number 19, East Carolina receiving votes. If I don't call you American Athletic Conference soccer expert Steve Lansdale, what would you want me to call you? How do I qualify you to be on this broadcast?
You know, just Steve.
Because I'm honestly unsure.
Just Steve.
Okay.
That'll work.
It's just Steve. So we already know I'm unqualified to be on this broadcast. And I know you're qualified.
Not true at all.
As SMU comes with a substitution.
And there is Sophie King, who we mentioned. So you watch her come in for Tori Peterson now. And it really won't. Oh, okay. Tori Peterson now flipping over to the right side. Abby Dermott's taking a seat. So now you have 4 defenders on the field for SMU. 3 are freshmen. Sophie King, Tori Peterson, Peyton Annan. And as we have discussed before, a lot of coaches with a lot of teams get a little antsy about throwing freshmen back there. Nicole Nelson has 3 of them.
Peterson's played a lot, more than 450 minutes now. Sophie King, 258 minutes coming in. As Jewel Boland dispossessed in the box. Starting a rush back the other way before Boland tracks her down is ECU's Grace Doran.
And Boland not only tracked her down, but played it off of Doran's leg and got possession back for SMU. Terrific hustle by Boland.
Excuse me, ECU, quite a few fans here not happy about that call.
Well, sure, you don't want to see the call go the other way ever, but I think in that case it was the right call. And everybody in attendance wearing purple and white will tell me I'm wrong.
Another really good play by Peterson. Again, one of those that's not going to go in the box score, but
she's so calm under pressure when people are closing in on her. You know, she sits one down with a crossover. She got Schlegel then up in the air by faking a long serve out of the back.
Sabasco serves it across. It's played into the box. And the header opportunity was going to be wide anyway for SMU. But a chance, nonetheless, for the Mustangs, Sammy Nieves, the corner of the 6. Nieves has 1 goal, 3 assists this season. Sophomore out of Las Vegas. Under 23 to play here in Dallas. Not as many chances in the second half for ECU as in the first, as Alyssa Cisneros has it go into touch off of her. Throw in coming for Macy McDougal from Prosper, Texas, just north of Dallas.
Yeah, ECU has been in a fairly defensive stance most of the night as the Mustangs have pressed forward, and that seems to have increased in the second half. And that's not to say they're playing not to lose, but they're trying to be very, very careful, to be sure.
ECU head coach Gary Higgins about to bring in Samantha Moxie for the first time as Peterson got hit in the face and the head, and Estefina Estrada sees that and wants to make sure that Peterson's going to be okay. As Peterson's going to be forced to come out of the game and be checked after being surprised by a ball in her facial area.
Well, one of the subplots in the last minute or so, Peterson and Sydney Schnell of ECU sort of wrestling for space in front of the near sideline. Peterson doesn't want to come out at all. She's looking at Estefina saying, Estrada saying, what do I have to come out for?
Not hurt.
Now she's trying to come back in. She's going to have to be waved back in by the referee. And the trainer just gave her a checkup for about a half a second and said, you're fine.
I don't need to say anything. Peterson's face says it all.
But now she is taking a seat as Abby Dermott has just taken her place back. And Gary Higgins is none too thrilled about this substitution.
It's a big decision, as it doesn't seem that the coaches know exactly what is going on, as Nicole Nelson looks for some clarification. Here's the restart favoring ECU.
Referee Estefina Estrada was trying to do a drop ball, which you have to do when you've stopped play to send somebody off. And ECU's number 13, Brooke Brzezinski, was trying to take the ball out of her hand as if to tee it up like a free kick. Had to be explained that's not how this works.
Brzezinski ends up with a pretty quality chance in a bending drive that went over the head of Peyton Dorian and into the hands of Tatum Sutherland. Sutherland with her third save of the night against one goal. And SMU back on the possession. A very solid midfielder, Rudin. Goes wide to Cisneros. Has Dermott joining. Dermott slams on the brakes, hits Cisneros. Getting creative, back to Sabasco. Sabasco looking to serve into the box. The header by Rudin comes up short. And it's played back out to center.
Rudin was there, and Sammy Nieves was right behind Rudin in case the ball got through or had the ball gone on frame and there had been a rebound. And just like that, Tori Peterson is back for SMU.
Samantha Moxie comes in for ECU, by the way. And this one into touch off of ECU, but in the process, Jewel Boland runs over this ECU Pirate player. Looks like it's McDougal.
Yeah, McDougal actually made a really nice play, sort of kicking her leg straight out and knocking the ball into touch with her heel. But then she had the misfortune of having her leg straight out in front of Jewel Boland, who was coming at 100 miles an hour, and ran through it. And McDougal sort of corkscrewed into the ground, and Boland went to help her up. It looks like McDougal's going to walk this one off.
Mass and velocity of Jewel Boland certainly not helping the situation. Here's Sabasco. Again playing it across, off the head of an ECU player, out to the opposite side. It's a long run.
Nieves was creeping in from the back post, and that deflection off the header didn't change the direction of the ball much, but if it hadn't, it might have gone straight to Nieves. So nice play by the Pirates.
Boland recovers. Sabasco there, back to the frame and well off target.
Very difficult play by Sabasco, trying to reach out and pull the ball back over her head. I don't know if she even knew that Julissa Cisneros was standing behind her. But in any event, unable to keep it in play.
Steve Lansdale, John Little. Steve mentioned earlier that there is no overtime in regular season college soccer this year. So right now tied at 1, under 20 minutes to play. And we'll be done at the end of those 20 minutes. Will there be another goal or two on the board? We'll find out. As Rudin tried to chase it down. Rudin hands out to the side, but a pretty nice play by Moxie there to keep her away from the ball, and ends up in a goal kick.
That change in the overtime rule, by the way, eliminates one of the unwritten rules of soccer, which is, it used to be that if you said the word overtime, it didn't matter whether there was a 10-goal margin on the scoreboard. Somehow, some way, the other team was going to catch up and even it up before the 90-minute mark and take you into extra time.
I looked for that rule. I couldn't find it anywhere.
Well, you know, it got a lot of media types in trouble.
Thankfully, I've never been a media type.
People would get scolded every now and then. Don't say that word.
A restart for the Pirates, coming off a foul in the midfield. And on the restart, Abby Soa ready to gear it toward the goal. The sophomore defender into the box. It's played backward, but there is nobody home. Meanwhile, Samantha Moxie ended up on the deck.
The reason nobody was home was because Tatum Sutherland just planted Moxie face down in the dirt and got away with it. She was coming out to play the ball. And again, the goalie's always going to get the benefit of the doubt in that area.
Moxie coming after it, but she was offside.
Still be recovering from getting climbed like a tree by Tatum Sutherland, who ran her over from behind.
Tatum Sutherland out of Cleburne, which is south of Fort Worth. Joshua High School is where she played her high school ball. Making her first start of the season. She's given up just one goal. And here's Jewel Boland back to Sabasco. Looking to play tic-tac-toe with Boland before it is cleared out by McDougal.
This can be so difficult to read when you're trying to start and stop and change direction on short notice. And Sabasco went one way with the ball and Boland went the other.
Tori Peterson, strong game for the freshman. Stepping over it, feeding it back to Rudin. Slips it down. Sapos gears it back, with defense joining. Cisneros trying to chase on top of it. And it's stripped away by Moxie. She's been active in her 5 minutes on the field. Moxie's just going to 1-on-5 steer it toward the goal.
Well, it's fine if you can run through those 5, but if you're going to shoot from 40 yards out, that gives Tatum Sutherland an awful lot of time to drift over her left and calmly play the ball away for SMU.
16 minutes left here in Dallas. It's a 32nd minute goal in the first half by Julissa Cisneros, her 6th of the season. 4 minutes left in the first half. A goal by Isabella Gutierrez. Got us level, her 2nd of the year. Since then, we've been scoreless. SMU leads in shots 12-4. Here comes Sammy Nieves. And Nieves tries to pound it down the goal line and forces the corner as it goes off of Macy McDougal.
We'll see if the Mustangs take a similar formation to what they've done several times, which is camp Nieves out in front of English just to obscure her view a little bit and then run toward the corner as she is right now, and that's drawing 2 defenders with her.
Sabasco into the box. Easy play. Sapos had it short hop to her. Drives it back to the corner where Sabasco's waiting. Sabasco dribbles in. Leaves it. Nieves going right back to Sabasco. Sabasco stepping over. Angling in. Going for goal and missing high.
Oh, she wants it back too. You saw her clutch her hands up in front of her face. She knew she had some space in the upper corners and just got a little bit too much under that. You see a couple of step overs to try to create some space, and she was going to the upper left corner. And again, when you think there's a gap, it's so easy to get excited. And you're taught at a very young age, stay over the ball when you're shooting it, because once you start to lean back, it's like pulling out a pitching wedge. And that ball will carry, as it did on Courtney Sabasco that time.
A great win by SMU at midfield. 13-4, the shots in favor of SMU. Here's Boland, so strong with the ball, 1v2, and oh goodness, a foul in a great spot for SMU. They will get a free kick, an excellent set piece after the Pirates miscue.
And the Pirates wisely setting up their wall about a foot in front of the ball, and of course they have to move back to 10 yards, but it's simply a little bit of gamesmanship to allow their teammates an opportunity over on the right side of the box to make sure they're fully marked up on the different targets for Sabasco or Julissa Cisneros.
Sabasco left angle. 22 yards out from the mouth of the goal. Sabasco leans into it, off the wall, going again. Now a chance on the crosser by King. It gets knocked down. Cisneros staying on top of it. SMU will keep the attack on as Peyton Dorian joins. 13 minutes left. Dorian in an unfamiliar spot near the edge. Lofts it. Oh my goodness. That had shades of the goal by Kyle Lee the other night, where it just drifted in thanks to the wind.
She did not miss by much.
Not at all.
And on that previous restart on the free kick, sometimes when you bang one into the wall and it comes back out, it's actually the second shot where you have a little bit of a better chance, because at that point the wall starts to move as the defensive players scramble around looking for somebody to mark more closely. Then there's some space, and Sabasco did the right thing, kept her head down and tried to just bury it through a new gap that may have opened up in the wall and wasn't able to get it through.
The electric Eliana Salama is out on for SMU. Rare chances in the second half for ECU, but they've been able to make this 1-1 game stand up as Cisneros steals it away, and SMU plays it right back into their attacking possession. Rudin, it's too heavy of a touch from Cisneros. Back to control for Jasmine Ferguson, as the ECU Pirates back line has done a nice job tonight for the most part. Some of the longest sustained possession for ECU tonight. Peyton Andon runs this one down. Sutherland chips it away. It's an awkward one. Handball is missed, but SMU does have possession as Salama loses it out. A couple subs coming in. You see 22 and 18. 18 is Carson Parker. He scored 4 goals in her last 2 games coming in, along with Sydney Schnell. The original starters are back in.
Yeah, Carson Parker certainly going to be the focus of some defensive attention. Dangerous scorer coming in with fresh legs. You got to think that any offensive chances the Pirates have will be aimed at number 18.
They had the game-winning goal in overtime against SMU at home in March of 2021, that year when she moved from defender, where she played early in her career, to forward. In fact, had both goals, or 2 goals in that game, including the game winner in overtime. SMU takes it away. 10.5 to go. The aggression for ECU is evident, but SMU takes it back, and Cisneros knocked down, and a foul call and a quick restart as SMU will keep going after that go-ahead goal. A chip in. Look where Cisneros is somehow, and a corner coming up for SMU after that aggressive drive from midfield.
A little surprising to see Soa just crank the ball over the end line across the track in the southeast corner of the field. I think she had some time. If she'd looked over her shoulder, she could have settled the ball and turned it back out for the Pirates.
Sabasco to the top of the 6. Dorian, no. Jewel Boland gives it back to Cisneros. Slides it across, and there's just nobody home.
Great play by Boland, though. She dropped it back to Cisneros, and then had she stayed where she was, she would have been in an offside position. So Boland stepped over the end line, so she was off the field. Could not have been called for offside had Cisneros been able to get that shot on goal.
Jewel Boland, the senior. Very, very headsy play as SMU looks to connect on a go-ahead offering with under 10 minutes to play. John Little with Steve Lansdale, our entire ESPN crew. All the scoring in the first half. 9 minutes away from a conference season opening draw, but not if SMU has something to say about it. Boland back to Rudin. Rudin out to Cisneros. Creatively past 2. Leaves it back. Sapos is joining. Feeds it out to Sabasco. Left corner. Sabasco. Down to Boland. Boland toward the goal. Left-footed shot. It's just wide. What a save by Maeve English, keeping Boland off the board and the game level.
As hard as Boland struck that ball and from such close range, I have no idea how English was able to shift her balance and get her left arm out. I mean, that was almost just waving at it, hoping the ball hit her.
My goodness.
Save of the game for sure.
And another corner kick. Good ball driven to the top of the 6. It's kept for a moment by SMU, but played into touch by Peyton Annan with her back to the goal.
Yeah, she comes out with back to the goal, trying to just get a foot on it, pull it down, and did not see Julissa Cisneros over her right shoulder coming in, trying to pick that out of the air with a one-time shot. Peyton Annan would have done well to just bail out and let Cisneros get there, but I don't know if she simply didn't see her, couldn't hear her. But Cisneros certainly had a shot that never arrived.
Excuse me, got a yellow card on senior Catherine Holbrook for dissent. And with 8 minutes to go, the first yellow on either team tonight. Estefina Estrada hasn't had to do much to keep this game reined in emotion-wise. It's been a cleanly played game between two very evenly matched teams. Obviously, an ECU bunch getting votes in the top 25, and SMU coming in number 19.
And if this score holds up, they'll get more votes. If you get a tie on the road against a ranked team, Gary Higgins will never admit that he'd like a tie, but he certainly can't be disappointed if he walks out of Dallas with a tie.
Sophie King with some second half minutes. She comes out. Tori Peterson flips back out to that left wing defensive position, and Abby Dermott comes into play right back. The SMU chant starts. Jewel Boland knocks it down into the box. A dangerous opportunity as there's a knockdown out front as Boland tried to step back on it, and Boland eventually called for a foul here as she got body to body with Mason McDougal.
If you're Jewel Boland, you got to be pretty frustrated. She sticks her leg out trying to reach the ball. You see the first shot, and now you see she reaches out for it, and she falls and bends backward over the ball. That just doesn't look comfortable at all, and then she gets whistled for a foul in the process as well.
Boland got into a few words with Maeve English. Meanwhile, English will take the set piece here. You see where the foul was called from just outside the 18. But Boland's been frustrated much of the night. Despite that, played one of her best games of the season. 5 shots, one of them on goal. Good header win. Cisneros down to Boland. 5:49 left. Can SMU or ECU pick up the late goal and steal a win tonight from the other in an American Athletic Conference opener? Sydney Schnell with a good takeaway. Schnell. Eyes toward the middle. Here comes Carson Parker. Parker reaches it. And the kick goes out for a corner here for ECU. 5:22 and counting.
Mustangs look like they're sucking wind a little bit on the back end, and Abby Dermott did a nice job after Parker split a couple of defenders to run onto that ball. Dermott found another gear and got in front of it and played it out to set up the corner.
So
Courtney Sabasco setting up the corner for ECU because the Mustangs want another chance to get down to the other end with 5 minutes to go.
I thought she was just being nice.
No, she's uninterested in watching anybody play stall ball right now.
No, I definitely think you're right. Sierra Lowry gets ready to go. Meanwhile, Estefina Estrada looking to negotiate terms between the red and the white tonight. After about a minute break, they're ready to go now. Serve to the top of the 18, knocked down easily. Only SMU bodies there. Good play. And a foul coming on ECU to give it back to SMU unless Tatum Sutherland is going to go ahead and try the quick restart. Mustangs trying to get more opportunities in a game. They are out shooting ECU 15-4, but an ECU takeaway now. Oh, outstanding opportunity and a goal. Sydney Schnell behind her back flips it over for a burying goal by Annabelle Abbott.
Beautiful pass by Schnell. For Schnell to know that she had a teammate behind her and she knew Tatum Sutherland was coming at her. All she had to do was let it bounce off the inside of her ankle, flick it backward, and wide open net there for Annabelle Abbott to put the Pirates up 1.
The ECU Pirates, one of the bottom of the table teams in the AAC last year, have come to one of the teams that's constructed to be a favorite in the American and confounded them to the tune of a 2-1 lead as Annabelle Abbott scores her second of the season in the 86th minute.
And ECU coach Higgins, Gary Higgins, just picked up a yellow. You don't often see a coach reprimanded for something that is said after a go-ahead goal with 4 minutes left. Usually you would think any outburst there would be celebratory in nature. And when he was shown that yellow card by Estefina Estrada, he had this look of, "Are you kidding me?" on his face.
SMU unbeaten this season at 4-0-3. ECU came in unbeaten in the last 6 games. They're about to make it 7. As they're up by a goal. And it would take 2 quick SMU offerings to knock them from the ranks of the unbeaten in their last 6. Oh, that one goes right off the backside of Annan as she was falling down. And a stoppage. As you can see, Peyton Annan is in a prone position holding her ankle.
You're right. Annan was already falling. She had collided with Sydney Schnell. And that pass, couldn't have done that in 100 tries if it had been intentional. That pass upfield, I don't know if it hit her. She came up holding her right ankle, and I don't know if that's where the ball hit her or if it surprised her and then she ended up rolling her ankle. But Peyton Annan, a very important part of what the Mustangs have been able to accomplish through the first portion of the season, and you see her getting her right ankle treated, worked on a little bit by the trainer there.
Clock stopped with about 3:20 left. And Annan's been a huge part of this team, the freshman out of Plano, just north of Dallas. She's started every match so far this season at right center back spot for SMU.
And she's in the middle of everything. She's obviously a critical defender. She's strong in the air. She marks some of the opponent's best offensive players all night long. She's the kind of player you stick in the lineup and don't take her off the field for 4 years.
And it would be tough to see if this ended up taking her out for multiple games.
Watching the way she stands up, she's going to have to get some help getting off.
Tough pill to swallow, frankly, tonight for SMU. She'll literally need to be carried off the field.
Yeah, that's never a good sign.
SMU out shooting ECU 15-5. Better in possession. However, when it comes to chances, have to admit that ECU had a few that were really tough to handle tonight, and 2 have ended up in the back of the net. The SMU Mustangs with 3 minutes left, trying to do anything they can to now even this game at home.
Watching Peyton Annan's facial expression as she was carried off the field. Obviously she's in some physical pain or wouldn't have needed the assistance, but you got to think that part of the look on her face was just the angst about not being out on the field with her teammates for the final 3 minutes, trying to get an equalizer here.
Salama holding it, now serving it right down the line. And Maeve English smothers it, and will take some time, with 2:40 remaining and the clock running, to try to run out the clock on the SMU Mustangs as ECU is closing in on one of the biggest wins in team history tonight.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to describe it. I mean, as you said, this is probably ECU's best team ever, getting votes for the first time. If they win this, if they hold on for the last 2:15 and get a win on the road against a ranked team in their own conference, it's hard to imagine they've had a bigger win.
The last 2 seasons, they only had 3 road wins total. They'd pick up their 3rd road win of the season. This would be a ranked one. Pirates with under 2 minutes to play. It's stall ball time for sure for this defensive-minded bunch as Schnell forces a throw in.
Every coach will tell you winning on the road is very difficult no matter who you're playing. And winning conference games is critical and difficult. And to beat a ranked conference team on the road, if Gary Higgins and his staff didn't have enough ammo to convince his players that, hey, this system works, buy into what we're doing after the close match with Duke, this would be another huge arrow in that quiver for him. Great teaching point if they get this result to hang on for another 80 seconds.
Schnell has killed the last minute by herself. SMU will have an opportunity to advance it. They'll need to do it in a hurry. A minute left, down 2-1. A match that they scored first in, seemed to control most of the night, despite the game-tying goal right before the half as Peterson loses it out. But a second-half brilliant goal by Annabelle Abbott off a prettier pass from Sydney Schnell has given ECU this 2-1 advantage. 35 seconds left.
You're right. It was a nice goal, but the pass that set it up was fantastic. Tatum Sutherland didn't have a chance. She had to close in on the passer and therefore left the entire left side of the goal wide open. And Abbott finished when she had that chance, as we discussed earlier, they needed to do.
The ECU Pirates coming into Dallas. SMU had only lost 1 match at home in the last 3 years. Make it 2 as the Pirates of ECU knock off number 19 SMU in an American Athletic Conference opener, 2-1. And what a win for Gary Higgins in his first year as the head coach of the Pirates.
Terrific win for the Pirates. That's going to be a nice flight home back to Green.